In 1939, the United States was reeling. The Great Depression wasn't a memory, it was the present. Unemployment hovered at 17%. Industrial production was stagnant. The American economy was in survival mode, not growth mode. But 6 years later, in 1945, the United States emerged from the ruins of World War II as the most powerful economy in human history. How did it happen? How did a country suffering from crippling poverty transform itself into a global superpower almost overnight? The answer lies in the numbers. The shocking figures that reveal how World War II didn't just reshape geopolitics, it built the foundation of American economic dominance. Let's dive in. Figure 1. $350 billion. That's how much the United States spent on its war effort between 1939 and 1945. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $5 trillion today. World War II wasn't just a war, it became the largest single financial mobilization in history. Taxes were raised, bonds were sold, and factories were transformed into engines of war production. America's manufacturing skyrocketed, and the war essentially ended the Great Depression. Why? Because money was everywhere, being spent, being made, being invested. Figure 2. 300,000 planes. Between 1939 and 1945, American factories produced over 300,000 military aircraft. That's more planes made in 6 years than the combined air forces of the entire world at the time. Companies like Boeing and Lockheed shifted from designing commercial planes to churning out bombers and fighters at breathtaking speeds. Air supremacy became a byproduct of American assembly lines. More importantly, it began a post-war aviation boom that led directly to America dominating commercial aviation for decades. Figure 3. 12 million jobs. During the war, unemployment essentially vanished. Factories needed workers, farms needed laborers, and the military needed servicemen. Between soldiers and civilians, 12 million new jobs were created. What's more, wages grew. In 1941, the average factory worker earned about $1,300 annually. By 1945, that had jumped to $2,500. America was building wealth at every income level, fueling a booming middle class after the war. Figure 4. 60 million rounds of ammunition per day. That's how much ammunition American factories produced at their peak during World War II. Entire industries were repurposed. Ford wasn't making cars anymore. It was making tanks, anti-aircraft guns, and jeeps. General Electric wasn't working on home appliances. It was building radar systems and bomb components. Wartime production didn't just win battles. It transformed America into the manufacturing powerhouse of the world. After the war, this industrial capacity shifted back to consumer goods, fueling an economic golden age. Figure 5. 19 million women in the workforce. Perhaps the most transformative impact of World War II was social. For the first time, women entered the workforce in massive numbers. The iconic Rosie the Riveter wasn't just propaganda. It reflected reality. By 1945, women represented nearly 37% of the workforce, up from just 27% in pre-war years. They weren't prepared to simply return to the home afterward, and this new demand for economic independence reshaped the American labor force permanently. Figure 6. 75,000 tanks. U.S. factories produced over 75,000 tanks between 1940 and 1945. Compare that to Nazi Germany, which manufactured fewer than half that number. America's logistical scale completely overwhelmed its adversaries. This ability to outproduce enemies didn't stop in the war. It became the cornerstone of U.S. economic power during the Cold War, establishing America as the global leader in large-scale production. Figure 7. $10 billion in Lend-Lease aid. During the war, the U.S. didn't just produce hardware for its own military. It supplied its allies through the Lend-Lease program. Over $10 billion worth of tanks, planes, ships, and weaponry was shipped to nations like Britain, the Soviet Union, and China. Adjusted for inflation, we're talking about over $180 billion in today's dollars. This wasn't just generosity. It built relationships, secured trade alliances, and ensured that post-war reconstruction would revolve around the United States. Figure 8. The 94% income tax. During the war, the highest income tax rate in the U.S. soared to a whopping 94%, applied to those earning over $200,000 annually. And yet, instead of collapsing under the weight of taxes, corporations and industries thrived. Why? Because the government reinvested every dollar into production contracts, public works, and infrastructure, showing how massive taxation, when paired with investment, can ignite growth. Figure 9. $15 billion in scientific funding. World War II wasn't just about bombs and tanks, it was a war of innovation. The U.S. poured $15 billion into scientific research, an astronomical figure at the time. The Manhattan Project, radar systems, and early computing technology came straight out of these investments. After the war, this laid the foundation for advancements in medicine, communications, and space exploration, all of which fueled U.S. dominance in technology and industry for decades to come. Figure 10. 50% of global GDP. In 1945, the United States accounted for over half of the entire world's industrial output. It was producing 80% of the world's cars, 60% of its oil, and staggering amounts of raw materials like steel and coal. While Europe and Asia lay in ruins, the U.S. stood alone as the world's economic titan. This position not only fueled the post-war consumer boom in America, it laid the foundation for the U.S. dollar becoming the global reserve currency, cementing American economic power for the next century. These 10 figures tell the story of how World War II catapulted the United States from despair to dominance. But the transformation didn't come without a cost. Hundreds of thousands of lives lost, sacrifices made by everyday Americans, and global power dynamics that continue to echo today. The war wasn't just a moment in history. It marked the beginning of the American century. So, what lessons can we draw from these figures? That hardship can force innovation. That mobilization can create opportunity. That economic power often grows from adaptability in the face of crisis. But, most importantly, that history, whether it's wars or depressions, offers lessons we can use to shape our futures. If this story made you rethink how wars reshaped the global economy, hit that like button and subscribe. Let's explore more hidden truths that reveal how the past defines the present. The numbers don't lie, and they always have more to tell us.